Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, doing USA forecast for today's second video. So as on a Wednesday, having a look at the weather next 10 to 14 days for the United States. So I shall get on with that for you in a second. Just say about the first video released today was our 7 AM forecast. We've got a 10 to 14 day with all of the rake of features coming up for the UK and Ireland, and that's going to be coming up later on, this afternoon. So please like, share, subscribe on all of the videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, let's get on with this week's USA forecast. So I'm going to start off in the tropical Atlantic. Loads of interest areas. We've got this yellow X just here, which is disturbance free. Only a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 to 5 days. With that one, we've also got disturbance 2, with a 50% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days, a 50% chance in the next 5 days. That might develop into a tropical storm. This one looks very likely to develop into a tropical storm. This is disturbance 1 with a 90% chance. Wow, very high chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 to 5 days. So that is definitely one to keep an eye on. And then we've got Hurricane Sam just here. This is giving maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 950 millibars, and moving northwestwards at 9 miles per hour. Clicking on Sam and going here, we can see that major Hurricane Sam is going to continue pushing northwards. They're going to get very close to Bermuda at the end of the week, and then it will curve out into the North Atlantic as we get through to the weekend. Not impacting eastern coastal areas of the United States. This one's staying out at sea, and doesn't look like that's going to have any impacts on the east coast, on the eastern seaboard. It is a very powerful hurricane, though. It's going to go back up to maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour in the next few hours. That's a major Category 4 hurricane, and that's going to carry on, for the next 2 or 3 days. It will eventually start to weaken back down to 90 mile an hour, and that's sustained in around 5 days' time. But before then, that is a very significant hurricane indeed. Let's have a look at the tropical view from latest GFS run from tropicaltidbits.com. So there's Sam, of course, just there. That's major Hurricane Sam. That's a disturbance area that's got a 90% chance of cyclone formation. Let's see what happens over the next few days with the GFS run. So there's Sam pushing northwards, of course. Sam going north into the northern part of the Atlantic as we get through to the weekend. Still as a very significant hurricane. We've developed the disturbance area into a hurricane just here. There's another little trough there as well, by the way. That's probably a tropical storm. This looks like it'll be a Category 1, maybe Category 2 hurricane by the weekend, perhaps. And then on into next week, we find that Sam pushes northwards into the North Atlantic. This is Monday. Sam pushes northwards into the North Atlantic as an area of low pressure, and that one also going northwards as well. That might impact the Azores, perhaps, if it gets close enough. So both of those systems pushing north, neither of them affecting the eastern seaboard of the United States or the Gulf Coast. So the east coast of America got into a slightly quieter period at the moment, I think. But by the time you get through to the end of next week, this is Thursday, 7th of October, there's some sort of feature off the southeastern coast just there that might develop into a tropical storm close to that southeastern coast of America. But it does look at the moment like the east coast and the Gulf Coast, things have got a little bit quieter. There's another sort of area of low pressure just there. Again, that might develop into a tropical storm or something. We're a very extended range show now. We're beyond day 10. Significant area of low pressure there. That could be a subtropical area of low pressure. So a little bit further northwards, coming towards the end of the GFS midnight run. Again, there's no indication of any direct hits or impacts up to middle of October on the east coast of America or around the Gulf Coast. So at the moment, all the interest is at sea and in the middle of the ocean. Of course, we might get a late impact, though, on the Gulf Coast or the east coast of the United States. So the hurricane season still got a while to go, and this is only one forecast of the GFS, so we will need to keep a close eye on what's happening. But at the moment, like southern, southeastern, and eastern America, kind of having a quieter period after a very, very active few weeks, like a couple of weeks ago. Right, let's have a look at GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Let's go to New York City today. So the red line is of a 30-year upper air temperature average on New York. We're starting off a bit on the cool side, actually, at the moment. Temperatures are dropping from a warm start, going cooler over the next 2 or 3 days. From weekend on to next week, though, it looks quite warm, actually, in New York. In fact, many parts of America will be turning pretty warm, I think, through the course of next week. Precipitation-wise, going to be a lot of dry weather over the next few days. So as it turns cooler, will also turn drier. It's classic sort of full weather. And then on through weekend into next week, much more unsettled then. So warm and wet, really, as we get through to next week in New York. And temperature anomalies look like this from the 29th of September to 7th of October. Generally warm and average from coast to coast. So right from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast and all points in between above average temperature. So only going to be quite a warm week to come. There's a few little areas that are a bit cooler than average, particularly focus on this southeastern corner. I suppose, you know, they're the desert regions and probably being impacted now by cold nights, but offset by warm days to some degree. But overall, it is a warm scene across much of America. The far northeast looks a little bit cooler up here. That's what's going on right now, and we will see a temperature lifting up there as we go over the next 2 or 3 days. As we see from, you know, from the ensemble, New York, for example, is going to go cool for the next couple of days, and then temperatures will stage a recovery. Precipitation-wise, looks pretty dry out in the west and in the northwest. Otherwise, most areas are actually a little bit wetter than average through those central, midwestern and eastern states. Pretty dry down in the southeast around Florida, so not too bad down there, and in this southeastern Atlantic corner. But yeah, it's generally quite an unsettled scene, I think, in much of the states in week ahead. Right, so this is how the latest GFS run is looking. So we've got a trough of low pressure off the east coast at the moment, off this northeastern coast. That's bringing some cooler air from Canada. So that's rates a drop in the temperature we've got right now, and, you know, a more autumnal fall type feel in the northeast. Otherwise, though, high pressure sitting across these eastern states, pulling up warm from the south. Then in the west, it does look a little bit more unsettled through there. There's the upper air temperatures right now. So you're seeing it's cooler in the northeast with this trough of low, cooler out in the northwest as well, and then in between, pretty hot through these midwestern and Rocky Mountain states. Now we go on into weekend, and we're going to find that area of high pressure drifting eastwards. That's going to take the warm temperatures with it as well, but a trough of low pressure will start to get going through the Midwest into weekend. So on into next week, it looks warm but unsettled really for northern and eastern, northeastern parts of America. We've got this trough of low pressure sitting in the Midwest, pushing eastwards. It's got a lot of warm air associated with it, and not pulling in particularly cool air, you know, behind it from Canada at this time either. So quite warm, but also pretty wet. With that area of low pressure through the early part of next week. That's how the upper air temperatures look on Tuesday. So really hot out in these western states, of course. Remember, in the desert areas, it will be getting cold at night now, though. And, you know, in mountainous areas too, like the Rockies, will be starting to get cold despite those upper air temperatures looking pretty hot. But in the east, it's unsettled and relatively warm with this trough of low pressure, especially coming up the eastern seaboard. Perhaps a little bit cooler, though, through the mid-western states. There'll be heavy showers along as well as rain, heavy thunderstorms mixed in. Into the second half of next week, this trough continues really to sit across the Midwest and into the east. So that will bring further heavy showers, more downpours through into the second half of next week. The driest weather will be out in the west, I would have thought, with a ridge of high pressure. Now, beyond day 10, we are starting to try and dig in some colder air from Canada then. So this is Monday, 11th of October, a cold northerly push with this area of low pressure moving across the northern states. Then, so yes, it does start to turn colder, actually, for the far north and northeast and into the Midwest as well, through into the second week of October. Probably doesn't last all that long, though, and then start to pull up warmer air from the south once again. So how the upper air temperatures look as we get to the end of the GFS run, which gets to the 15th of October. So most areas still looking pretty warm. It's going to be a bit of a delayed onset to real autumnal fall type weather, I think. Up to the end of the GFS run, most of the coldest of the air is kept at bay over Canada. So how the ECM is looking, the Euro looks like that. Again, we've got this trough in the far northeast at the moment. That's going to bring some dropping temperature and some cooler conditions to the far east and northeast. Otherwise, a ridge through these midwestern states will pull up hotter air from the south bend, more low pressure up to the northwest, bringing cooler air in from the Pacific into the northwest, and some heavy showers and thunderstorms too. Moving through the course of the rest of the week and into the weekend, we see that hot air is surging up from the south through the Midwest and transferring eastwards as well. Those cooler upper air temperatures being pushed out towards the extreme northeast of America and back into Canada. And over the weekend, we find that we get this trough of low pressure developing through the Midwest. That will bring heavy showers, maybe thunderstorms in what is a relatively warm air mass still. So warm and wet as we go into the early part of next week with trough low pressure through the Midwest and in the east. Meanwhile, in the west, it will be a quieter scene through there, I would have thought. All the way up to day 10, there's not all that much change. See, this low pressure never really goes away from the east and northeast, so there will be lots of heavy showers and thunderstorms and longer spells of rain from the Midwest through to the east and northeastern part of America. The driest weather, probably with this ridge of high pressure in the southwest and also extending up through the central states as well. The Pacific Northwest looking cooler and more unsettled with that area of low pressure coming in off the Pacific. These are the CFS V2 500 millibar high anomalies broken down into week periods. The first week period takes from the 28th of September, 4th of October. Coming week has this ridge digging in through the central states. There is a trough of low pressure in the far east and northeast, so it will bring heavy showers, long spells of rain, and also in the northwest as well. Week 2 is going to be the 5th through to the 11th of October. Generally, most parts of America under high pressure. That's a very warm ridge of high pressure as well. We have got a trough of low pressure off the Pacific coast in the far west, though. Week 3 will be the 12th to the 18th of October. Again, this big ridge sitting in the east and in the northeast through central states too. Low pressure out in the west. And then week 4 is the 19th to 25th of October. And that also brings a lot of high pressure, actually, through those central, northern, and east states. Always more unsettled with this low pressure in the west and in the northwest. Temperature anomalies for week 1, 28th of September, 4th of October. Significantly warmer than average in many of the central, northern, and eastern states. A little bit cooler in the far northeast. And definitely cooler in the west and in the southwest. Look at that, week 2 is warmer than average from coast to coast, really, 5th through to the 11th of October. Actually, on the Pacific coast itself, it's a little bit cooler, but just come a little way inland to those western states, and it gets warmer than average. And then it's just really warm scene with CFS, from that week 2. 5th to 11th of October. Very, very, very significantly warmer than average across many parts of America there. And that goes on into week 3 as well. It's the 12th to the 18th of October. Again, a little bit cooler down the western coast. Otherwise, significantly warmer average, especially for these northern, central, midwestern, and eastern states. And then no real change for week 4 either. This looks like a very warm October, doesn't it? 19th, 25th. Again, significantly above average temperatures, especially through those interior midwestern states and up into the north as well. Very, very significantly above average temperature anomalies. Precipitation-wise, we look like this. So dry in the east and in the northeast this week, wetter in these central and also west states and towards the northwest as well. Week 2 is the 5th to the 11th of October. Significantly drier on average through the central and eastern states, a little bit wetter out in the west. Week 3 is going to be the 12th to the 18th of October. Drier on average again through much of the Midwest into the northeast. A little bit wetter down in the southeastern corner, you'll notice. That might be CFS picking up on some sort of tropical development by then, maybe. And wet in the northwest as well. That's some low pressure coming in off the Pacific, of course. And then week 4 is the 15th to the 25th of October. Again, it's pretty wet down here in the southeastern corner. So later in October, you might start seeing things, getting going again around Florida and in that southeastern corner, maybe Gulf Coast states as well. Might start to see things picking up again there. Otherwise, looks wetter than average in the northwest, still dry than average in the east and in the northeast. So yeah, this looks like it'll be quite a warm October, doesn't it? Across large parts of America, especially, the interior states and through to the east and the Midwest and the northeast. Looks like we're in for a pretty delayed sort of autumn, fall with this October. So very warm October coming up. Of course, the wider scene is going to be what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. And at the moment, it looks like eastern, southeastern parts of America and around the Gulf Coast, things have got a little bit quieter. But still got a long way to go, of course. It's only 29th of September. Still got a whole of October to go. And we may see indication there from the southwest. So as we get like into middle of October, things might start picking up, actually, in terms of the of that southeastern corner of America and tropical developments. So we shall see about that. But for the time being, yes, it's going to be quite unsettled, but pretty warm conditions going on into October. Right, that's it for USA forecast this week. We're back later on for 10 to 14 day for the UK and also for Northern Europe as well. So come back for that then. But for this week's USA forecast, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.